Everyone, this is Evgeny, and we continue our experiments with LangGraph, LangChain world, right? And today I wanted to show you, basically there is a huge movement. If you're following the news, there is a huge movement from using MCP servers to CLI tools. And today I wanted to show you some experiments, how you can do this transition, what kind of impediments you can meet along the way, and how you can solve it. So join me and let's take a look at that together. And basically building LangGraph, LangChain agents is a very interesting way of programming your agents. So if you're curious how you can do this on your own, I prepared for you tons of interesting courses on LangGraph and LangChain. Just from the zero, you can start doing something already. If you're curious, if it sounds interesting for you, then check the links. They are there. We have tons of courses prepared for you. Thank you. In today's session, we just try to look how you can, what's the difference between using MCP servers and CLI tools, and how to make this transition, right? What kind of impediments you can meet along the way. And for simplicity, we are going to use GitHub, so GitHub MCP server or CLI tool as well. There is available, right? And we check how both working at the same time. So let me start. Before we begin, let me define some basic stuff like API keys, GitHub access, talking, LangChain stuff, etc. We are using GPT-5 Mini as a model. We have system prompt, and this one we are going to reuse across all the agents we are creating today. So it's a coding assistant. It's very generic prompt, nothing really special here. And our test prompt will be specific for GitHub, so I'm asking to check my 3 most recently updated repositories on GitHub and find each README and tell me what I'm focusing on, like what I was focusing on later, right? So in general, we are not interested so much in the details. We just the idea is to trigger here connection to GitHub with different ways with MCP or CLI and see how it works. Okay, and first we start with MCP server, and this time I think if you're following what we are doing, this time it's a bit different. So it's not a local MCP server, it's a remote one. It's already available in GitHub, so we are using this one. And let me connect to it first. So the token is here. I can connect to the server. Like the first step, we are just trying the old way, right? How MCP works. And I have all the MCP tools collected, and I even can show them. It's 43 and different functions you can trigger GitHub with all this data. And basically this is maybe I still gonna talk a bit about that. Like this is one problem of MCP, provides a lot of information to the agent, to LLM, and it might be a really messy, like what should I use here, because we are showing here only the names of the MCP tools, but behind each name there's a description, what tools performs, what parameters, for example, etc. And there are also some drawbacks, but I'm not going to talk about that. Anyway, we have this MCP tooling. It's 43 for GitHub, and we are creating our agent. So what we have here, we have a model. It's a 5.0 Mini. We have system prompt, your coding assistant, and we have MCP tools. That's very bare minimum, right? And it's classical representation with agentic loop here. And well, I'm running this agent with our test prompt. So provide, like, goes through my GitHub repository, finds 3 recent projects, analyze it, shows me what I'm working on, like recently. And here we are. We have let's check this together. So we have this initial user request and AI message. First one, it makes a call for get me. To understand the real account information, we have this information back, and now it searches for repositories. Pretty clear, right? 10, the last updated things, it's there, and then it reads the README file from each and every repository. It gets back some content. So 1, 2, 3, and then based on these 3 contents of README, it generates the output, the result, like what was the current work. Like this is how MCP works. Everything is fine, right? Now we go to CLI tooling, and this is the real idea. Like, why do we need any MCP servers if we already have a lot of like tons of CLI tools we already can use, right? And even LLM is pretty much like it's pretty aware of these tools. It taught a lot of information about these tools. You know how to use them, and we can just reuse this. Like, we don't have to wait until another MCP server is created, right? If we are talking about GitHub, so for example, I have GitHub installed already, so there's a help information. For example, I can check status as well. So I can see that I connected with my credential to GitHub. I can do some stuff on repositories as well. Like, for example, this one is a README, and so it contains something. So I'm pretty prepared to using GitHub, right? And what would be the idea? Well, as a first step, what we can do, we completely remove the MCP tool. So agent is not aware of any GitHub MCP, but we are providing a way how to run this CLI tool. We are doing this with shell tool, and this one provides the ability to the agent to run whatever command the agent wants to run. So what happens here, we are providing also all the environment variables. So we have the same configuration as my local machine, and the agent this time is a bit different because we added the middleware, so it's shell tool middleware. But again, this is a very basic one. Like, agent knows that if the agent wants, it can run whatever CLI tool in the shell environment, but well, we are not telling exactly like what should be run here. And we are trying to run the same prompt, like check GitHub and my latest 3 repositories and tell me what I was working on recently. And look at that, it says, okay, I can't access your authenticated GitHub account. It's a pretty stupid answer, right? Because you have CLI tool, you have a way how to run CLI tool. Maybe let's run it again. But it's already, see, it's tricky, like it has no idea how to proceed my request. And the same kind of response, right? Let me just give it another try, and if it's not working, then we'll try to fix it somehow. All right, this time it's a bit different, right? It's much bigger output. Let's check it together. What's the difference here? It's pretty long, right? So it says, okay, shell command, I'll check your GitHub account, and it performs something. Oh, now this time it's kind of, okay, there is a GitHub CLI tool, maybe I should check it. And it's there, right? So the agent is aware, okay, I can use GitHub API for that. And it performs a command. There's a pipeline here, for example. Just look by that. It's interesting, only 3 recent repositories. It fetches not all the fields, but only some fields. But anyway, it's aware of that, right? Second. Okay, failed to parse. So it's not, the syntax was wrong, right? Probably the older version. The agent is aware of older version of GitHub CLI. It performs another call, and another error happened. That's really weird. And another call for repositories. And this time it was successfully fetched something, right? Because 1, 2, 3. And now it tries to fetch the readmes, and look at that. Some commands to enumerate files. Probably, I have no idea what's that. It's like up to the agent. And finally it read the file, readme, and now it knows the way how to read files from the GitHub using CLI tool. So next time it performs the same thing, like enumerate the file using download URL. Okay, it fetches, it uses curl. It's an interesting approach, right? It fetches the file back and performs the same for the third file. So it gets the download URL, it fetches it with curl, and then it has the file content. And then based on these 3 contents, it generates the response. So it works kind of, but you see, right, it's 30% of the time it works, the rest it fails. First of all, then it's really weird situation, like it's not using GitHub CLI, curling the URLs and trying to read them. So anyway, this is the kind of middle state, right? And it's much worse than MCP server yet, right? We don't like this at all. So what could be the way we can improve this thing? And I will tell you, if you're watching our videos, then the you know that we can use skills here, because with the skill we can narrow what the agent performs in a specific area, right? And let's do it. So I have prepared a skill for that already. This is general GitHub CLI skill, and it explains, basically there are a lot of information, or maybe not so many, but anyway, it explains that basically for accessing GitHub you need to use GH CLI tool. You have to use specific mode for to remove this pagination thing. You have to prefer like JSON outputs, etc., and some basic information on how to use this tool. And let's reuse this skill. So what we are doing for that, we are going to reuse skills, not the ones we created previously, but we are going to reuse the one from LangChain, and this is from deep agents. So what we're doing here, we are defining file system, we are defining our skills, where the skills can be found, and then we're defining shell tool middleware, so the agent is still aware of running shell commands. We are providing file system middleware. We need this for our skills and skills middleware. So this is the way how this whole thing works in deep agents. You have a skill middleware, which is responsible for providing which skills you can find, and but it reports you back on the file name of the skill, and then you need to enable file system middleware, which allows you to load this skill. It's kind of not consistent approach, but this is the way how it works at the moment. So we are creating our shell skill agent, and look at that. It has a shell tool middleware, it has skills, and this model tools loop. And now let's give it a try and run the same test program and see if this really helps this skills like thing. Okay, here we are. Let's open it and examine together. So what do we have here? We have the same user request, and based on that, the agent immediately gets that, okay, I need this GitHub CLI skill. And this is the path. Then the file was read, the whole skill went to the context window of the agent with all the instructions. Then based on that, it decided to fetch the username just right away, and it's this one. And then knowing the username, it runs another thing for listing the repositories. And also not all the fields, but only some. Just it's really huge helper here, because we're not polluting our context window, we're just providing very necessary information. So we have the basic information about 3 projects here. And then what happens next, it tries to fetch the README for each and one project here. So the first one, README, is there. Then it fetches the second README for the second project, it's there as well. And just notice it's very narrow. It's not like going here and there trying to understand something, not Coral job at all, just it directly calls GitHub for everything, GitHub CLI. And then it reads README from the third project, and then all the information gathered, and it generates a response. Let's see how this combination of skills and CLI tools work together. And you don't need any MCP. So this is the idea of this migration. This is how it can work in your own agents. All right, that was it for this video. I hope it was interesting for you. You saw some paths, some ways how you can change. Maybe you understand better why you need to change usage of MCP servers to very simple CLI tools. Well, if not, there are tons of articles on the internet as well. And it was me, Evgeny. Thanks a lot for being with me, for sticking with me until the end. And we will see each other in the next videos about all this agentic architecture and worlds and LangGraph and LangChain. And don't forget to check the links I provided. And well, see you next time. Thank you and take care. Bye-bye.